Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today's one is going to be something different for me. It's going to be a collaboration. Now, this is the first time I have ever done a collaboration, whether it's on Instagram or over here on YouTube, so it's something a little bit different. But I am collaborating on this video with Brooke Sommar Eventing. I'll pop her Instagram handle down here, but definitely go and check her page out. She's super active, got a lovely little pony, and she's always posting and she's really, really friendly. So do definitely go and give her a follow. But what we have done is we both wanted to do a Q&A. So we both popped up on our stories last week, just getting you guys to ask us some questions, whether it was about the horses or whether it was just about life in general. Just give us some questions, let us know what you want us to answer, and then we was going to do a collaborated video to kind of answer them. We've shared some of the questions, some of them were sort of more tailored or more suited to each of us individually, so we've just answered those ones ourselves. Definitely go and give us both a follow over on our Instagram. We are both very active over on there. Brooke's got a lovely journey with her pony Willow, so definitely check them out. She'll leave some lovely comments and she's definitely worth a follow. So she's been sharing her tips with me on YouTube because I would like to get more active on here. So we're trying to collaborate and share some ideas and stuff. So go grab yourself a cup of tea or drink, come back and we'll have a little catch up and get to know me a little bit more. Okay, so the questions that I asked over on Instagram, they were sort of generic questions really. Some of them, like I say, me and Brooke have shared with, others were sort of just more specific to one of us, so we've kept them on our own channels only. And we've decided to do this sort of individual videos and just sort of mention each other so that we can focus purely on our own answers, because otherwise I think the video would be super long and a little bit messy if we're both trying to talk to you and answer the questions each. So I am going to get going. Number one was questions based on how, I've got my notebook here by the way if I keep looking down because I would not remember all of these questions. But it was basically how I got into riding, if I've had like a horsey upbringing, if my parents were horsey, anything like that. So the answer to that is no, my parents aren't horsey at all. I didn't really get into horses until I think I was maybe eight or nine when I started riding, maybe, yeah, about 8 or 9 I think, when I actually started riding. So I actually went on a school trip for a week to Shropshire, and it was kind of like an activities week kind of thing. We all stayed there, done loads of different activities like raft building and God knows what else. I can't really remember too much of it now. But what stuck out for me was we went for a hike through the woods. Now, I'd done maybe like little pony rides when I was very small, little Shetland rounds, and I must have enjoyed it then, but it's not something I kind of stuck with or anything like that. So my main memories of getting into horses was definitely that trip to Shropshire and going for this little hike, and I loved it, and I come back and I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do, was start horse riding and get into it. I was still living with my mum at the time, and when I'd come over to Dad's at the weekends, then he had a field behind his house and there's all horses and ponies over there, and I would spend hours over there. I've got all my own little brushes and I would go over there and give all these ponies a little brush, and Dad's friends actually had a couple of horses when I was growing up as well, and I remember sitting on them and having little walks around, which I loved. But it wasn't until, oh, it's a long way to remember back now, but I think I was about 9 when I actually started riding lessons. Nan would give me some pocket money. I think Dad was paying some money as well, and then I was having sort of, I think it started as once a month lessons, and I couldn't wait, and I knew I wanted to do it more, so then it went to like once every 2 weeks. But obviously lessons are quite expensive, and as I said, I didn't grow up with horsey parents at all, so it's just having lessons when I could. I think I got to a point where it's sort of weekly, and then I started half sharing a pony at the riding school. I was doing a little bit of work on the yard as well, helping out at the weekends, and I'd get extra rides to do that. And that's where it sort of really kicked in and started, and I really understood how it all worked, you know, all the care side of things. I'd do all of the little pony weeks. And I remember doing all of that, and I just absolutely loved every aspect of it, so I knew I wanted to do it more, and that's when I started looking at ponies to properly share or loan, so I could do it more. Riding school, you can only kind of learn so much, and you're not really getting that one-to-one bond with one specific horse, so I thought maybe sharing or loaning would be the next step. And I tried a couple, they didn't really work out for one reason or another, and then a friend actually shared an advert of a pony. I think it was around London sort of way. I lived in Romford at the time, so we travelled all the way there to look at this pony, and she was actually to buy. She was the first one we saw. As I say, my parents didn't know anything about horses, so it was sort of help from friends and just sort of Googling things and learning as we went kind of thing. And I fell in love with this pony. I think my dad came and viewed as well, and I remember him sort of being scared because I was just cantering around. She was so fast. I cantered around, we skidded up to the gate, flying over these little jumps, but I absolutely loved it. And I just fell in love with her instantly. She was this little pretty white unicorn. She's called Star, if you didn't know. And I bought her, and she was my first ever pony. I had her for 9 years, and she got a little bit older in the end, but I think that's another question, so I'll go on to that more in detail. But yeah, that's how I got to having my first ever horse or pony. So that's how I grew up. Goodness me, I don't think I'm going to be very good at this. I've got 10 questions, and that was, what, 5 minutes on question 1? Whoops, might need to concise my answers a little bit. Okay, so the next one is horse goals with Nancy. So obviously retraining a racehorse isn't a straightforward process. They're all very different, and it's taken quite a bit of time. So I've had Nancy 3 years now. My main aims were just to build a bond with her, you know, tailor the journey to her, see what she needed, and I didn't really have main goals or time frames or anything, because I just really wanted to take it slowly with her, put no pressure, and just see where we went. She's needed to do a lot of growing mentally and physically, so it's taken, as I said, I didn't have time frames in mind, but I've taken things slowly with her. It's taken me 3 years to get to the point where we're at, and we've been jumping for ages, but our journey's stepped back and forth in that. It's not been straightforward, and maybe I'll go into more detail in that in another video if it's something you're interested in. But now I feel like we're at a point where I can start setting goals and start trying to do things with her, because I've got an idea of who she is, how we are as a team, and what I feel like we'll actually be able to do. So my goal primarily was to event, which is something I still want to do, but obviously it's a lot of time, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of training. You're cramming all 3 disciplines in, so I think maybe that's a goal for a little bit further in the distance, or just to do for fun, not necessarily seriously event. I definitely want to get out to some shows. I want to go on beach rides. I want to go to places like Deptford Forest, and like stayaways and things like that. I want to go arena cross country and doing like hire it out so we can go in all the water. I want to go to the gallops. So my goals with Nancy are more fun based rather than competitive based. We'll touch on to that in a minute about shows, but yeah, it's just to have fun. I absolutely love every part of having a horse. It's not just the riding and competing for me, so wherever we get, the fact that we've built a bond and been able to get to where we are, that's a huge reward for me already. So yeah, anything else on top of that is going to be a massive bonus for me. So question number 3 is life goals. What do I want to achieve in my life? That is, I've got one goal essentially. Obviously live a nice, long, happy, healthy life as with all my family and friends, and all be happy and healthy. But my goal, and I've had this for a long time, but I think since having Nancy, it's just sort of concreted that in, that is what I want in life. is to have my horse at home. I want to buy a property and have my horse at home. That is my ultimate dream. I don't want nothing fancy. Obviously, to have an arena at home would be the absolute ultimate dream. But for me, just a little bit of land where I can have her at home, wake up, go and feed her myself, do all my jobs myself. Being at a livery yard is great. You know, you get the social side of things, you get the help if you're away on holiday. You've got somebody there to fall back on. If you can't make it up one day, there's generally always somebody around that can give you a bit of help. If you're not well, you've got the help. If you need advice, you've got somebody there. But I mean, I'm not the most social person in the world at the best of times, but I just love every aspect of it, and I want to do it all myself. And to be able to walk out my door at any point of the day and just go and see my horse, I couldn't think of nothing better. People think I'm absolutely bonkers, but honestly, that is my ultimate dream. Rob is on board with it. I don't think it's necessarily his dream to open his back door and have Nancy sticking her head in, and he's definitely said, she's got to be a bit of land where she's like over there, she's not like putting her head in the window kind of thing. I mean, I'd love that. But yeah, it's definitely something we're thinking about and working towards. So I've got lots of little goals and obviously time frames and things like that, but as a general, that is my ultimate. That is what I'm aiming for in life, to have my horse at home and to have land for Kai to run around and not have to go out on walks, because he's not the easiest dog to have, which again is another question. I'm kind of just ramming these all into one. I'm not very good at this. Okay, let's move on. So let's have a look. Number 4, what did I do with my last horse? So as I mentioned earlier in, I think that was question 1, Star was my first horse. She was a little bit older. She was already 18 when I bought her. I needed something experienced. She was my first horse. She was very easy to do in all ways. She was prone to laminitis. And I think I'd had her maybe 2 years before she got laminitis for the first time, or the first time since I had her. Obviously, once a horse or pony has had it, they are more prone to it, especially ponies. I mean, I'm not going to go into detail of how that all works, but she was then tested and had EMS, which is equine metabolic syndrome. It's the equivalent to type 2 diabetes, so she had to be on metformin, which is a medication that a lot of people take. She had to be on that, and every time she got laminitis, obviously she had to stay in off the grass. So obviously I couldn't ride, and it was all just focusing on getting her better. And I think that's where my love for the jobs and just having a horse in general comes from, because I couldn't ride her all the time. There was a lot of, I think I had her for 10 years, and there was a lot of time during that where I couldn't ride. But in the time that I had her, I actually moved in with my dad full time, so she was sort of my consistent through everything. I moved to school, I moved to a completely new area, and yeah, she was the one thing that kind of kept me together and kept me going and was my consistency through it all. So she's a huge part of my growing up. She was my best friend, I used to love coming home from school, and dad would take me up there, and as I say, he wasn't horsey, but he done everything he could for me. He'd sit up in the car and wait for me and come and help me ride, put the jumps up and video me. And yeah, I've got some brilliant memories, but she wasn't a tricky horse either. As with most ponies, they're quite energetic and stubborn in their own way, and she was definitely one of them. She was grey, which is where I think my OCD comes in, because I like everything clean and spotless, and obviously having a grey, that's not the easiest to do. So I was always grooming her and plaiting her up, and we didn't really compete too much. Obviously, Dad didn't know too much about horses in general, let alone competing. And again, it's expensive. I haven't grown up in like the wealthiest family, and horses are a luxury. So, yeah, we didn't really compete too much. I think we've done a few sort of little jumping, like clear rounds, and a few little classes. She was epic to jump at home. I jumped her think 1.20 m was the biggest I ever jumped her, but she could fly. She absolutely loved it. But get her into a show ring, and I was stabled at a yard that had shows on the yard, and you put her in that show ring and she was just a different horse. I don't know if it was the atmosphere or anything, but she just shut down. Didn't want to do it, didn't want to go forward, wasn't interested. It made me quite nervous because I'm quite shy, so I didn't like people watching me at the best of times, and then the fact that I couldn't even get my pony round a quarter jumps and I'd forget the course and things like that. So competing wasn't our forte. We done a little bit of showing. We actually, I think that's the highest place we ever got, was in showing. She actually done quite well at that in like the veteran classes and things like that, but again we didn't do huge amounts of it, and because I was quite young, you know, we didn't box up and go anywhere or do anything like that. We was at a lovely yard that had a cross-country course on site. We had lovely big arenas and, like I say, little shows, so we didn't actually really need to leave. We was quite happy just getting on with things there. I don't know. No, that's all I need to go into. I don't need to start elaborating, do I? Because this is what I do. I just chat. I chat here for hours to you, and I think that's why I enjoy YouTube, because I jump on my stories and things and I chat to you all on there. But I feel like a video you can kind of sit down and say a little bit more, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So you'll have to let me know. Okay, number 5. We're halfway. I don't know what time we're at, but I think this is going to be quite long. I said I was going to keep it short. Number 5, did I go to college? What do I do for work? Yes, I went to Writtle University College. I'd done a level 3 extended diploma in horse care. All I wanted to do was work with horses. I didn't know what I wanted to do as a job. I didn't have sort of, even in horses, I didn't have a career path that I wanted to go down or anything in particular. I just wanted to work with horses. I wanted to ride. I wanted to work on a competition yard, something like that. So I went to Writtle just to get the paperwork essentially and to stay in education. I had a part-time job around that in retail, which I can confirm retail is not for me. As I said, I'm not the most social butterfly out there, so that yeah, that's not really not where I wanted to be. I have worked on many different yards in my time. I've kind of gone back and forwards to doing that in between other jobs. It's something I wanted to do, but to get into the riding side, you either need to be exceptionally good, have a lot of money to get out to the shows and, you know, get doing things, get in with the right people, or work your butt off. Now, I've worked my butt off, but you need to find the right people, and a lot of that meant moving away, which I didn't want to do. And obviously having Star, who was a little bit older and I couldn't really do much of the riding side with, I didn't have like a young fit competition horse that I could take with me and learn on and things like that, so it kind of fizzled out a little bit. I then sadly lost Star through laminitis, and decided that was my sort of gap in life where I could focus on being an adult, working, earning the money, and I wanted to buy a house. I met Rob before I lost Star, so he was aware of my interest in horses, much to his approval. No, but I think I had 5 years out of horses. I was still riding for people, but I didn't have my own horse, or I wasn't working with horses during that time. I decided to give that up at that point as well. I've then had office jobs. I worked for a healthcare company for quite a long time, and then during COVID that went to working at home, which is where I fell in love with working at home. I then went back to horses for a little while, worked on a few different yards once I'd got Nancy, where I took her with me. I've shared that before. Done that for a little bit of time just to get a bit of training whilst she was very sort of new off the track and learning, which was helpful, but again it just proved that working with horses full time wasn't for me, especially with a young horse. You've got to have a lot of patience and a lot of time, and after doing a whole day's work on a yard with many other horses, she was the least of my priorities. I didn't have the time, I didn't have the energy, and yeah, my heart wasn't in it at that point, so I decided she was what I wanted. I would rather have my own horse and enjoy her than working with horses, so I went back to like officey type work. And still now to this day I do an office job where I work from home. I have flexible hours and I fit other stuff in around that, so I do still can't get my words out. I do still do some yard work. I just groom for a few people, and I also do like little bits of gardening and other things just around it, but primarily I work from home. So that is what I do, and then I can focus all my time and money on Nancy. Okay, number 6, are thoroughbreds expensive? So it depends what angle you want to look at that. To buy, not particularly, especially if you're getting them straight off the track, completely sort of untrained, all they've ever known is racing. You can pick them up quite cheap. To keep, I would say yes. Obviously every horse is different. You'll have the individual ones that need less care, others that need more, but as a breed in general, I would say yes, they are on the more expensive side. They are a competition horse at the end of the day. They're that sort of, you know, highly strung blood type that you're going to need to feed it, you're going to need to shoe it, you're going to need to do all this stuff with it. You can't just stick it in a field and let it go on with itself. So generally they are more expensive to keep than another breed. I've spoken a bit more about that in my other video of why did I buy a thoroughbred. And also you've got to factor in training. You know, if you're getting them straight off the track, you've got to spend a lot of time and a lot of money training that horse before you can get it up and running and do stuff. So it completely depends on your priorities. If you just want a horse to sort of get on with and plod along with on your own, and you feel like you're experienced enough to do that, that's obviously going to save you on sort of retraining costs. But they're individual and you're individual, so you make it what you want to make it. You get as much training as you feel you need or can afford or want. To keep them, obviously there's many different options. There's so many different types of feed out there. If you can get them eating as much hay and out on grass as much as possible, you're going to be saving. And obviously if you want to buy a ready built thoroughbred that's been completely retrained, you know, it's done, it's growing and it's a little bit more established, you're going to spend more to buy it, as with other horses, but it might be a little bit cheaper to keep it and sort of you're already going. So from that side of things you might find it a little bit cheaper too, but they're so varied, so they're still horses at the end of the day. They're going to cost you a lot of money one way or another, and it's up to you, the options that you choose to get there and how you keep them. Okay, so number 7, where did I buy Nancy? So I said I was going to do another video on this, so I am going to do that because I did get a couple of questions asking how to buy a thoroughbred and where I got Nancy, how I found her and things like that. So I will do another video, but in short, I bought her directly from her trainer in Newmarket. She had literally run her last race 2 weeks ago. She was still racing fit. She come straight off the track where she raced and was trained, and yeah, I got her straight from Newmarket from her trainer. Okay, are huskies hard work? Yes. In short, yes, they are hard work. Again, as I said about the horses, they're all individual, they're all different, they're all going to need different care, you know, they'll all settle differently, but as a general breed, they are quite hard work. They need a lot of exercise. You think they are working dogs at the end of the day, they need to go out and run. They molt a lot. When I researched it, they molt twice a year, they blow their coat. Kaya molts 6 months twice a year. I swear, he continuously molts. My house, my clothes, why I wear things like this, because you can't see it. My house is constantly covered in hair. You cannot come to my house and not have any husky hair when you leave. It's a gift, you're taking it with you, whether you like it or not. Black clothes are a no-go because you just get covered. And they're quite a sensitive breed in terms of their tummies and their diet as well. You'll find other breeds that are similar to this as well. We raw feed Kai. It's the best thing for his tummy. It took us quite a long time to find out what worked. We've tried a million different feeds for him, or food, I would say feeds, for him, and raw has been the best, which is mostly more expensive as well than your sort of pre-packaged kibble, just because you have to buy it fresh. You've also got to have the storage and stuff for it, and if you're a bit sort of squeamish like me, you may struggle. I've got a bit used to it now, but yeah, it's not the nicest foods to do, but it suits him, it's what works, so that is what he has. But yeah, he's great fun. He is definitely hard work. Walking is a challenge, which again leads into my life goals of why I want a big house with land, so that we don't have to go out and walk him. I can't let him off the lead. He will just run. He is the most ignorant dog you will ever meet when he's out on a walk. His ears don't twitch. He doesn't acknowledge you. If there's another dog or a rabbit or something that runs off, he's chasing. He's going after them. He's not coming back. He's not listening to me. I'm like, Kai, come back. No, not interested. So yeah, we can't let him off. We thankfully live near farmer fields, so we can walk all around there. I've got like a massive 20-metre long lead that he's on, so he still gets a run around. But yeah, from that side of things as well, he's not the easiest. Okay, number 9, we're getting there. How old am I? Do I have a house? Do I have a car? Do I drive? A little bit about me. Yeah, a few questions about me, because I am quite shy, as I mentioned, so I don't necessarily talk about myself or who I am that much. As you know, my name is Taylor. I am 27 and a half. I feel a lot younger than I am. I still just feel like a kid, just bumbling along through life. I drive, yes, I passed my test as soon as I was 17. Obviously, having Star, Dad was quite keen to get me driving, so he didn't have to sit there for hours on end and drop me to the yard and go and get feed and things like that. So yes, I passed my test as soon as I turned 17. I actually passed first time. Theory, I passed second time because I failed by 1 mark. Yeah, you can imagine. 1 mark. But yeah, practical passed first time, and yeah, I've been driving for 10 years now. Yes, I have a house. Rob and I bought our first house about just coming up to 5 years ago now. We rented a house together for a year before that, just to, you know, make sure everything worked and the whole living situation. And thankfully, you know, we're still here, and that's another point on here. Rob is obviously my boyfriend or partner, or I find boyfriend quite a strange word because I feel like we're about 17 still. But he's, yes, my other half, whatever you want to class him as. We've been together for just coming up to 10 years this year. We're not engaged, we're not married, we don't have children. As much as we're asked the question of when it's going to happen, it will happen when it happens. I would like to have children. I definitely see myself having children, but it's not something I'm like in a rush to do. Everyone's like, oh, you're getting older, you know, Rob turns 30 next year, he's just had his birthday. When are you going to have children? And I'm just like not in a rush. I'm quite happy playing ponies and yeah, spending all my money on a horse at the moment. So Rob's on the same page at the minute. He wanted children when we first met. He had like an age in mind, and as we've sort of got older and learned that money doesn't go very far and what we want in life, that is more priority at the moment. So when children happen, they will happen. I lived with my mum till I was 13, as I mentioned, or I mentioned that I lived with my mum. I moved out when I was 13 and I lived with my dad, and I lived with him up until I moved out. Me and my dad are really, really close. We speak every single day, and he's like my biggest supporter. He's always there. He was there when I bought Nancy, and he's always there, quick to tell me when I'm wrong, but he'll support me no matter what. And fun fact, I guess, is that I am only 5'1". Some of you may not know that, some of you may. But yes, I'm very short. I don't know where I get that from because my family are not short. Rob's quite short as well, so you know we work together quite well. I don't mind being short, to be honest. So yeah, that is a little bit about me. What's the last one? Number 10. I capped it at 10. I tried to like cram a few of the same sort of questions into one. But number 10, the final question. When are you taking Nancy to her first show? Watch this space. Wait. A video may be coming very soon. No, you're going to have to wait. Watch the next one. We may have been out over the weekend. We may have done our first ever show. Not going to say any more, but I mean, they speak for themselves, don't they? Yeah, you'll have to stay tuned and wait for the next video for that one. But I think that kind of answers your question. As I said, I've taken it really slow with her, so there's no pressure. But yeah, we will do a debrief and we may have a few clips to share in the next video. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed getting to know me a little bit more, asking you questions. I've not put people's names of who asked the questions on this one, purely because, like I say, I kind of crammed a few questions into one, and I've had to refer to my notepad enough as it is. I didn't want to sort of keep looking down or showing who asked the questions. I thought I'd keep it nice and simple. I didn't want to overcomplicate anything. But huge thank you to Brooke for collaborating on this video. You can check out her video and all her questions over on her channel, so I will pop her page down here, her channel down here again, as well as her Instagram. So definitely go and check her out and let me know what you thought of both of our videos, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one, because it's going to be an exciting one. Oh, you can't even see. It's going to be exciting.